Hey geeks, I'm Trey, Guillotine, and today I'm talking about the introduction of the Watchers into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Let's geek out. A lot of Phase 3 of the MCU has been focusing on the alternate dimensions and the alternate worlds and realities in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is kind of strange because the MCU, for the most part, has been grounded in science, in reality. But now they're starting to branch out a little further, opening up these new avenues. They did so with Doctor Strange, which was kind of the big initial introduction of the possibility and realities of different worlds, of changing time, of different dimensions. But they actually touched on this a little bit sooner. In Ant-Man, they introduced the Quantum Zone. But as well as Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, the latest season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. also touches on these other dimensions with the introduction of the Ghost Rider, especially in the season finale, when he gives a little bit more context onto what's going on in these other dimensions, that there's this big war. It is possible that this trans-dimensional war will take part in Infinity War, but we're not really sure what direction they're going to be going with that, as a lot of Phase 3 has been gearing up for Infinity War, but dimensions have definitely becoming a bigger part. But there is one scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 that kind of is the key to all of these parallel dimensions and parallel timeline possibilities for the MCU. I am about to say a spoiler for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, so if you haven't seen it, you might want to stop watching now. It's not imperative to the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it's just a very small, very brief kind of cameo scene. So Stan Lee's cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is as a Watcher. He's sitting there with the other Watchers from the Marvel Comics, discussing his time on Earth as a Federal Express agent, which was his cameo in Civil War. Now, I guarantee you that the reason for this cameo and the reason for this scene, James Gunn did it probably purely just to have something for fans to laugh at, because it is a popular fan theory that Stan Lee and all of his cameos in all of the MCU movies are him as a Watcher, which are these very powerful beings that watch and record the events of history. And they appear whenever there's times of great change or turmoil. So while this was done probably just as an inside joke for the fans, something for them to laugh at, this does officially introduce the Watchers and Stan Lee as a Watcher into the MCU. That retroactively makes all the Stan Lee cameos him as a Watcher, and it makes sense, as all of the times that he appears are times of change or turmoil, when heroes are arising or big events are happening in the world. And in a way, in a stretch of a way, this does also bring back all of the Marvel characters into the MCU, making them part of the same continuity. If there are alternate dimensions, if there are alternate timelines, and Stan Lee appears in the other Marvel movies like X-Men, like Deadpool, all of the Spider-Man movies, then that kind of makes them a part of the MCU, as they are connected by Stan Lee's role as a Watcher. That's a bit of a stretch, and it is taking just a simple cameo kind of inside joke a little bit further, but I think it is important that that the Watchers are a part of the MCU. Could even go one further and say that all the other roles that these actors who are playing these superheroes have played could just be alternate timelines of how their lives would have gone. When I was talking with a friend about Guardians of the Galaxy and Star-Lord, and if Star-Lord would like Mouse Rat, Andy Dwyer's band from Parks and Rec, maybe Andy Dwyer is just the alternate reality, alternate timeline version of Star-Lord Peter Quill. Maybe in this timeline, Peter Quill was born Andy Dwyer and grew up in Pawnee and became the lead singer of Mouse Rat and then Johnny Karate. Maybe it's an alternate timeline. Probably not. But it's still something fun to think about. But what I would seriously like to consider with the involvement of the Watchers is them being involved in future films and future TV shows. It also gives an opportunity for Marvel 1602 to be added to the MCU. Aside from the fact that it's written by Neil Gaiman, Marvel 1602 is one of my favorite my favorite Marvel graphic novels that I've read. Because it took the characters that you know and put them in very different situations as very different people, but still kind of the same core hero. Just in this kind of past Renaissance, Victorian, Shakespearean setting. For the longest time, I was sure Marvel 1602 would never happen, because it's so different. It's so far removed from the rest of the events in the Marvel comics. It's a very self-contained bubble that these events happen in because of the involvement because of the involvements of the Watchers and other superhero magical dimension traveling reasons. But now that the Watchers are officially introduced and a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think it's entirely possible for there to be a Marvel special mini movie, or just a movie that is separate and removed from the rest of the MCU or the events of the MCU, and this is just kind of a one-off thing. Because I think it would be fantastic to have Robert Downey Jr. and Samuel L. Jackson and Charlie Cox as Daredevil, bringing these characters in as their characters in Marvel 1602 in this kind of Renaissance setting. It'd be a very different acting style for them, it'd be very different dialogue, but it would still be the same, very similar characters. Now, because Fox is a greedy miser, you couldn't include characters from X-Men or Fantastic Four, so therefore the story wouldn't be exactly the same as 1602, just like most of the stories in the MCU haven't been exactly the same as their source material. It's been adaptations of it. And so they'd make an adaptation for 1602 to work within the confines of the MCU. Just like my Ant-Man prequel movie idea, this is a stretch. I doubt that Marvel 1602 film or TV show would ever happen, but I think that would be really cool. And now that the Watchers are officially a part of the MCU, whether they were brought in as a kind of inside joke for Stan Lee to be a Watcher or not, they are officially a part of the MCU. What do you think about the Watchers and the alternate dimensions in the MCU? Let me know in the comments, and share the video around so others can join in the conversation. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and check out my Patreon if you want to support more of my future content. Check out templeofgeek.com, your one-stop for all things geek, and subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching, and have fun. So Captain America, Thor, Hulk...